Hello, and welcome to Kathy's Crafty Creations and DIYs. If you're returning, thank you so much for coming back. If this is your first time, I am tickled pink that you're here. Hey, if you haven't subscribed, I'd like to ask you to do so and become a part of my little YouTube family here. I'm just starting out, and I would love for you to come along with me on this journey. Today, I have 5 DIYs that are all sign type decor. Some you can hang up like on the door, and some you can just sit out like this peace sign, and it lights up, by the way. Hey, either way, all of these are gorgeous. I used Dollar Tree items to make them, except for the wood round sign that I purchased from Amazon. This will be my very last Christmas video for 2020 because I'm going to spend the last week with my family. So that's enough of me jawing. Let's get on with this video, guys. In DIY number 1, I'm going to make one of those wood signs that I talked about that I purchased at Amazon. They came about 5 of them for about 20 bucks. It's a piece of unfinished wood, and most people put these on their front door as a hanger. I've got my stain here, which is Minwax stain, and it's in the color Early American. I'm just going to put my gloves on here because I always end up staining my hands. And once I get it opened, my plan is to put the stain on the top and the bottom. And as you see there, I've already put my tape down because I want to do that a different color. And I'm going to go ahead and stain the back of it too so it looks totally finished. I take my Waverly chalk paint in the color Crimson, and I'm going to put this red color at the bottom to make a cute little red stripe. And then I'm going to also make sure that on the sides where I do the red, that I'm going to touch that up with red also. Next, I'm going to get my white chalk paint, and I'm going to paint that whole middle area with the white. I make sure that I also get the sides white right there where I've painted the white in the middle. I get out my little hand dryer there and I dry it up real good, and when I get finished drying it, I take my square and I'm going to measure the dimensions to see what I need, and I go under Cricut Design Space to get it. And guys, I don't know what happened, but I lost the rest of the footage of this from here on out. Basically, I went to Cricut Design Space and I pulled up under Merry Christmas. It's about the 3rd one down, so I don't know the name of the font. It's beautiful font. It just simply says Merry Christmas. And I took 2 sprigs up there on the top that I bought from Walmart for $1.98. It was the red berries, and then it had some evergreen in it. And I put some of that lamb's ear behind it that I purchased at Walmart. I put 2 little red bells, and the bow that I made was a bow that I had bought from Walmart this year for $1.98. I'm sorry I lost the footage, but here it is, and I just think that it turned out beautiful. And I'd like to take a minute to ask you guys to give my video a big thumbs up, and if you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe and join our family on YouTube. DIY number 2 is going to be a Grinch head ornament. This wasn't really even meant to be a DIY, but I made it for my little grandson because The Grinch is his very favorite movie. He's 2, and so I figured that I would just record it and show you how I made it. I got one of those ornament shapes from Dollar Tree, and I don't know why I peeled off the back of it, or actually the front of it, because I'm just going to be covering it up with the craft paper so it looks good and finished. So the color that I decided to use was from Apple Barrel, which was only like $2 for that great big bottle you see back there. And the color was called Spring Green. And I added just a tad of the Ivy color to just give it the correct color of green for the Grinch. And I gave this 2 coats and dried it real good. I went to Google and I just pulled up pictures of the Grinch's face, and I came up with this and I printed it out. And what I did was got some carbon paper, which I have laid down underneath this, and I laid my little printout here on top of my ornament. And here you see me just tracing with a fine pencil the face of the Grinch because I cannot draw. I took my pen that I purchased at Walmart. It is the Painter's brand, and I just colored in all of that area that I had just traced. This was so simple and easy to do, but like I said, it was for my little grandson that's 2, so I wouldn't even consider it a DIY. I just wanted to show you how to do it in case anybody wanted to know how to use that carbon paper. You can get an image of anything and make it look like you were just the greatest painter ever. He was tickled to death when he got this. But it has the little hanger on the top, so I decided to make it where he could just hang it on his wall or hang it up or do whatever he wanted to do with it because he loves the Grinch. So I wanted to get the perfect color for the eyes, and I'm using my Arteza acrylic markers, which are the bomb, by the way. And I saw this fluorescent yellow color and I was like, that's it. Because if you know the Grinch, you know that he has those bright, staring, glaring yellow eyes. And look how beautiful this is when I painted it on here. I mean, it looks like I used acrylic paint. These Arteza markers are the bomb. So I went to the Dollar General store and I purchased a hat. It wasn't the correct size for Grinch's head, so I took my little Cricut tool and I made a little rip in the seam and I ripped it all the way up. And then I set this hat on his head to get the correct measurement that I was going to need. I took my scissors and I cut right up the side. I turned the Grinch's hat inside out, that way I could get my hot glue gun and put it back together. I had to fix the little ball on the top of the hat because where I had made it smaller, it just didn't fit right. So then I stuck it right back on his head and got it to where I needed it or where I liked it, and I glued it down. I wanted his hat to hang over to the side, so I just took my hot glue gun and I glued it down so that it would stay where I wanted it. To fix the Grinch where he could hang up, I made a small hole in the very top of his hat and I used jute cord to go through it. That way my little grandson could hang it up on his door or wherever he liked. Here he is, guys. Is he not the cutest thing? His eyes are so bright yellow. The pictures don't even do it justice. All right, guys, we go right into number 3. This is a shadow box that I purchased at a thrift store for $3. And I take the acetone and try to get it off the front and realize that it's on the inside. So you can take anything like that off with pure acetone nail polish remover. And I basically just cleaned up the glass really well. I get my white Adirondack, or whatever it's called, home decor chalk paint, and I'm going to give the outside a good coat. Even though it's white, it had a couple little chips in it, so I wanted to spruce it up. I had to get my painter's tape to put down because I'm terrible at not staying in the lines, and I would have it all over that glass. I got my little hand dryer out and got it good and dry. I've got my Minwax Early American stain, and I have this deer and sleigh that I got from the Dollar General. I'm going to stain that with my Early American. And also there's an ornament that I have up above it. It came in a 3-pack for $3. And it was at Dollar General also. It's that little star ornament there, and it says peace on it. It's so cute. And then it has like a little sprig and a pine cone on it. So I thought it would be really cute inside this shadow box too. I take my cardstock and I trace the pattern that's going to go in the insert of the shadow box, and I cut it out. It's that red and black pattern. I think it's so pretty. And I just used a glue stick for the back of it. I have found that I really like the glue stick better than I do the Mod Podge. It doesn't make the mess, the bubbles, none of that. It just simply sticks. It's so much easier. After I get that glued down to the insert, I simply just put it back in the shadow box to make sure that it's going to fit, and it does. It looks great. So then I'm just placing my deer inside. I just take my hot glue gun and I glued it right down there. I take the ornament that says peace, and I'm going to place it on the top of that cardstock, that insert that's going to go inside. And then I put it all together to see what it's going to look like. It looked great, but I felt like it needed something else. So I had some snow that I had purchased at Hobby Lobby, and I hadn't used it. I didn't know what I was going to do with it. It just said fine snow. And it's just little tiny crystals like. So I put some of that in there. And then we had one of those little battery pack lights that come from the Dollar Tree. These little lights. And we drilled like 9 holes in the back, my husband and I. And just stuck those in there. And there's the little battery pack glued to the back, and it illuminates that snow, and it is gorgeous. This is the prettiest picture. You can either hang it up or you can just set it down as decor, and it is beautiful. All right on into DIY number 4. We're going to make a small wreath with this yarn called Loop It. It's made by a brand called Red Heart, and it's very soft. I believe it's the type that you can make those blankets with that people are making. So I found the end of it, and basically all I did was took the hot glue gun, and I took one of these wreath forms, the foam wreath forms here, the green that comes from the Dollar Tree, and I just glued it down to the end of it, and I wrapped it around that sucker. It took a little while to get all of it wrapped, so you might as well turn on a movie or do something, because it takes a little time, and it's simple to do, but it just takes a little bit. It took 2 packs of this yarn to get the whole wreath complete, and I will show you. This is it, the Loop It. This is what it looks like when it came in the package. It actually took one whole one and not even a fourth of the other, and I think these were like $3 or $4 a piece. But the way that this wreath comes out, it's well worth it. It is gorgeous. And I didn't mention it, but I bought this yarn off of Amazon. And I have this pack of ornaments from the Dollar General store. They were $3 and they were so cute. There's 3 of them in there and it says Tree Farm. It's a little barn. And I decided to take that and put it on the side. Then I took some of my pine cones that I purchased at Dollar General. That was a whole pack of them for just $1. And I put a couple of those around the wreath. I took some of that red beaded garland that I got from the Dollar Tree and I weaved it in and out of the pine cones. And to make my ribbon, I decided on the red and black buffalo check, and I just did a very simple ribbon where you take the 2 bows and you make a loop of each one and you just kind of squeeze them together and it makes 2 separate bows, and then you take jute twine and tie it together. I like to double my wreaths, so I took this ribbon that I have that has pine cones on it, and I made another one to go on top of the red and black buffalo check. And I took a tiny pine cone that came from a pack at the Dollar General. No, this one came from the Dollar Tree, I'm sorry. And I stuck it right in the center. And guys, this turned out to be one of the prettiest wreaths I think I've ever made. It's so fluffy and white. It's soft. It's gorgeous. This wreath is very farmhouse. It is just gorgeous, guys. It is stinking cute is what it is. This is one of those projects that once I got started, I couldn't stop. So I decided to put some of these little farmhouse bells on there. It was just the cutest thing. It was just like the cherry on the top. It came out beautiful. And I promise after that, I didn't add anything else. But look how beautiful this is, guys. I'm so proud of this wreath. It was so simple and so beautiful and it's just gorgeous. Time for DIY number 5. I had purchased this little nativity set for $3 at the Dollar General, and I have 2 of those beware signs that comes from the Dollar Tree. I have some of those big, huge jumbo popsicle sticks that, of course, I'm going to take those and stick them on the back of that to make it one complete sign. And as you know, the front of the sign that says beware becomes the back of the sign. And I put the popsicle sticks on the actual sign itself because in a moment I'm going to take that craft paper and cover the back up so that it will just look more uniform and more complete. So I take my spackling from the Dollar Tree and I'm going to open it up and fix all those little cracks and crevices in the back of the sign to make it look like one complete sign. And while that's drying, I'm going to take and work on my nativity set here. I'm going to take my Minwax Early American stain and I'm going to stain it brown. I took the color King's Gold is what it was called, and glitter, which was a gold glitter, because I wanted to make my star very bright, pretty yellow star. And I'm going to take the glitter and put the glitter on the star also. I took my sanding sponge and I sanded it up real good. And I used a 60 grit paper to get it good and even. Then I took my mineral Waverly chalk paint and gave it a good coat. I only gave it one coat because I wanted it to look very farmhouse and rustic. So the way I do that is I get the middle really, really good, and as you get closer to the edges, you kind of leave a little bit of the natural wood to show. So I wanted to make it look like it has shiplap in it, so I get me a good straight edge and get me a good pencil. And this is actually a drawing pencil. It's made from charcoal. It's my daughter's. What I do is I go, you see on the sides there, those little divots, every 2 divots is about, I don't know, 2 inches, I guess, and that's where I go across. So there was a total of 4 lines that I put in this. I take my finger and rub across that pencil line, and it makes it look like real shiplap. It's very strange how that happens. But anyways, I take and see what the placement is that I'm going to want on this. And I had a Silent Night, Holy Night, All is Calm, All is Bright printed out. Just from Google Images. And I wanted to put Silent Night, Holy Night on there. That's all I wanted to use. So I cut it off because I wanted Silent Night up on the top, and then on the second line down over on the other side I wanted the Holy Night. Anyway, so I got the carbon paper and I put that down on there to trace both of those words on there. And I simply took a small Sharpie that I had. It was a little thin Sharpie. Because to trace these words, there were some areas that were very small and I didn't want to mess it up with a big Sharpie. So what I did was took my thin Sharpie and I just went across and colored in all of those words. I covered the back up with that brown craft paper just because it looks more uniform and nice. It covers up those words beware, and plus you're not going to get glitter all in your house. After I double checked my placement of everything, I took and just hot glued everything down in its place. I sanded it down very lightly with my sanding sponge. Then I decided I wanted to do a little bit of distressing, and I used my Truffle Waverly chalk paint and I distressed it very, very lightly. And I also took my burnt umber. I was going to use some black too, but once I got the burnt umber on there, I decided that it didn't need it. And it was very subtle, but it made a very big difference. And that's what I used the most of, was the burnt umber. I went really heavy around the edges, and then in the center I just kind of brushed it very lightly. Then I had these pieces of pine that my husband gave me. They're so thin you can just break them with your hand. They're actually thinner than the rulers that we use, but I wanted to use them as my edging for the sign. So what I did was I took my knife and I cut those off, and I used the early American men wax and stained them. They were so beautiful when I stained them. They turned out so pretty. And then I put those on the top and the bottom of the sign, and it was gorgeous. I have these little tiny sprigs that I ordered off of Amazon, and I just stuck 2 of those up in the corner. It has a pine cone and berries and little sprigs on it, and it turned out gorgeous. The pictures don't even do this sign justice. It turned out so very pretty. And that pine wood, it was just gorgeous with that men wax color. Now here comes our very final DIY, guys. I have 3 of those little boxes that you got at the Dollar Tree just about a month ago, and they have little Christmas sayings in them. They're cute, but I want to updo them a little bit. So all I did is took and traced out the pattern of the cardstock that I found that I liked. I popped out the back of each one of them because it was the only way that I could get the true size that I needed. And then I decided that I was going to paint every single one of them black. So I used that black chalkboard paint that comes from the Dollar General. Once again, I decided to use the glue stick, so I took the cardstock and put the glue stick on the back of it and stuck it to each of the inserts. And as I was putting the inserts back in, I put a tiny bead of hot glue. My goodness. And I used my finger protectors this time because the other day I burnt my pinky so bad, like I burned it to the bone. I'm not kidding y'all. Like there's a big hole in my finger, and I'm going to have nerve damage, and it was really bad. So I have some of these ornaments that I purchased from Walmart. They were $1.98 for each little pack. They're just like the little small ornaments, and one is a snowflake, one says Merry Christmas, and it looks like a little Christmas tag. And I took that Arteza marker, that's what you've seen me doing, and coloring that. And then the other one is a cute little reindeer, and I just stuck one on each of those. And the one that is the little reindeer, it seemed kind of plain to me, so I made 2 green stripes on it, and I took a piece of ribbon, which is what I'm doing there, that red ribbon, and I just curled the ribbon around it and popped it back in. And this is them when they turned out. They are just adorable, and they were really cute, really easy, and fast to make. And then here's a couple pictures of the stuff at the very end of all of it together. The only thing that I don't have the picture of is the Grinch head because my grandson already took that with him. But guys, I hope every one of you have a very Merry Christmas this year, and God bless you all.